I have a little bit of a graphic poem for you today. First up, this is called Simply Silent Afghan Women. Yeah, I wanted to do something besides just complain about the obvious, and I decided to do this from a child's point of view, an angry, spoiled little brat. You may have heard of that concept. I've got a sister. She's a big pain. She locked me out one time out in the rain. She always tattles to mom and dad. I get away with nothing. I'm GD mad. She's a big reader. Her nose is always in books. A heck of an arguer, a big old know-it-all. Oh, boy, does she give me looks. She gets to stay up later than me. You can see how she always teases and freezes and belittles me. I've watched the news for history class. I don't understand why I must study this to pass. History's boring. There's nothing in it for me. But oh my gosh, you'd never guess what the heck I'd seen. I learned about those dudes in Afghanistan who thought up something that I think is grand. Women, they surely put in their place. Out of sight, out of mind, they're just darn near replaced. Sure, they're needed to cook and watch the darn kids, but after that, they're silent. That's just what the law did. Cover 'em up, complete from nose to their toes, till out in public they must be silent. Of them nothing shows. They must be silent when out in the town, silent, ghost like you'd hardly know when they're around. No more arguing with any of us boys. They've been reduced to silent, invisible, compliant toys, behind their black veil in a virtual jail no matter where they go. They can never question a male. I'd like to send my sister. How can I apply? To send her to Afghanistan, no asking when or why. You shut her up once and for all, and after that we'll just see how the GD chips fall. She'll not like it, not one little bit. If she has to clam up, no one will have to deal with her, no more of her GD lip. Behind all that black veil stuff, she'll never talk. Boy, that'd fix her. She could never squawk. The last word will always simply be mine. As far as I'm concerned, no more uppity sister for me. It'd be just fine. Consider this, Taliban, so much lesser as a man. Suffice it to say, up in his head, he finds himself uneven, even overmatched by the slightest and smallest of women. When he hears whisper, catched. What a sad little creature, this Taliban man, so much lesser than any man, who must enchain and silence any woman rather than on an equal footing deal with them or even hear their voice. He gets so shooken. Yeah. And then these two little pieces for your amusement. This one is called Oklahoma Lost a Teacher. Now, I'm sure you're surprised as I am that there are people who still want to ban books. Isn't that funny? Isn't that just so sad? Here we go. Oklahoma lost a teacher. Oklahoma lost a teacher. He wasn't quite sane, and it sure wasn't prudent, wasn't good for their brains. The tiniest minds had made up a law. Look, if you look close, it did have the tiniest flaws. What could they do turning from education to lies? They certainly weren't smart, and they certainly weren't wise. They would not see what they could not see, no more than they could take a quick stroll across the roiling, boiling Zyder Z. They'd prefer the world to fit in a cup, and if that wasn't going to do it, well then, that's it. What's up? They liked their fairy tales, that much is true, but sadly, madly, they wanted them for me, and they insisted you too. And if the world wouldn't fit in their tiny old box, they'd rather just pout, take off their shoes, and darn it, walk barefoot on razor rocks. It didn't matter to them if they banged their toes on simple facts that everyone knows. They wanted to outlaw that kind of fact. They insisted reality stopped right there in its tracks. From all the big world, they just wanted to hide. Didn't matter to them if reality didn't coincide. They wanted their facts. They wanted them now. They didn't like reality. They'd rather not have it. No way, no how. One little teacher stood up to the mob. She actually wanted to teach, though, even if it cost her her job. To show her students just what the law had done, she blocked off the library books with red tape, every volume, every single one. She roped off the library right there in their face. She showed them how stupid, how totally and utterly bereft of grace. And when the law is quite stupid, it just makes no sense, sort of out of place. You can't hide from the world, from reality's face. And then this last one, there are some people that would rather talk about where soon-to-be President Harris is from and what she is than what she knows. So this is called Is She? Is she Indian? Or is she French? I'm not sure exactly what it is they've dumped and pumped and puffed us up into this silly trench and dump. Were she Swiss? Does it follow she'll always swing and miss? Best bat hollow? I'm not quite sure how we got to this. Were she Swede or Lordy Bantu? I'm not quite clear how that's up to you. If she's Parisian or perhaps a Czech, I'm not quite sure what you'll say next. She's got good references, worked for Law and Order. As a prosecutor, she clearly worked to reduce disorder. She had a plan to help kids stay in school. Isn't that exactly what we'd want them to do? Keep them at it, keep them learning, if only to reduce the city's burning. And if you're convinced that she's Hawaiian and that somehow she's not really going to be trying, and if she's Argentinian, she proved to be, could she therefore never cross the Zuyder Zee? And if Italian, would she prove bereft of virtue? That is, it's only nature and never nurture. And if her parents were raised by nuns, does that mean she couldn't dance and have fun? And if by laughing she some joy permits, must her children therefore be hermits? And if upon the Arctic Circle she traveled, would all her plans for justice therefore unravel? And if we elect her, won't she try? And if you say no, I wonder what it is you got stuck somehow there deep in your eye. And were she a Martian, she'd still be better by half than that Bink and Blink and Trump, because he's so weird and so very daft.